Again, welcome to Knowledge is Power on our Sunday evening segment. I've got some great guests with us tonight. And I want to make sure that you share this page, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn on Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. Knowledge is Power Podcast Live is a platform to share information, important information by educating Southeast Texas African Americans communities with valuable information on health, education, local politics, business, and personal financing. Please join my on the show tonight is the November election candidates. Let me bring them on here. And I forgot, let's see here. Can I get there? Yes, okay. Let me take this off here. There we go. Okay, my engineer's not here, so I'm trying to get everybody straight up here. Okay, there we go. Jay STITTLEBURG for Texas Senate District 4, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now I have Jefferson County Constable JEVONNE Pollard. Hello, Yvonne.
Hi.
And my good friend, the chairman, the Democratic chairperson, Joseph TRAHAN. And my super very friend, Mrs. ZENA Stevenson, the Jefferson County Sheriff. And Smoking Joe is here with us from Texas. Our Texas representative, Joe DESHOTEL, has joined us here on Knowledge is Power. Wait a minute. I've got some more guests here. Just popping in right here. Let's make sure I get them on here. And I have Sister Adrian Bell.
Hi there. Sorry.
Hello, Adrian.
Hello.
I've got everybody here. And I've got one more, and I can't get on. That's Marinette Parkinson. She's trying to get on the screen here. But I am so glad to have you here with us on a Sunday evening. And I want to thank right now, before I get started, is to make sure that I thank all the viewers that watches this show every Sundays and Tuesdays. We have this is one of the largest viewership podcasts in the area, and I want to keep it that way. We're pushing right at 80.5 thousand people now who is watching this within 72 hours. So thank you everybody for coming on tonight. And the reason why I asked you all to come, because we want our community, our Jefferson County constituents, to know that what we're doing and why and who to vote for. And I want them to get to know you and know who you are and know how to get how we can increase and be motivated in our election this November. And I'm going to start the show off with a few notes. Let's see what my notes are. Jay, I've got your notes. I'm going to start with Jay STITTLEBURG for Texas Senate District 4. Jay, just give you a brief what you're going to be doing. I mean, what you're doing, the importance of supporting your membership. And also, I want to get with Joseph TRAHAN, and that's where I really need to start with, Joe. Let's talk about let's start with you, Joe, since you're the Democratic chairperson. We're going to start with you, okay?
Okay. I'm sorry, what was your question?
I didn't ask a question. So we're just going to get started with you. Just go ahead.
All right, great. Well, as was stated, my name is Joseph TRAHAN. I'm chairman of our Jefferson County Democratic Party, and today we have a great representation of our slate of candidates on the November ballot. As many of you know that are watching, we are in tumultuous times, not only because we have a man like Donald Trump in office, but also because of COVID-19 and now 2 tropical storms that we're expecting to hit here in the Jefferson County area. And despite all of these things that are taking place, the Democratic Party and its candidates are working tirelessly to make sure that they represent our values and provide a voice to so many of us in a time when we feel like we aren't being heard. It's incredibly important to also point out that a great number of our incumbents who are in positions of leadership now, whether that be at the sheriff's office, the state house, or even within our constable's offices, are working around the clock to make sure that all of the people that they represent, our constituency, feel like they are being watched out after. And despite everything that's occurred, we also have this hope that many of us got to see during the Democratic National Convention that took place this past week, with speeches from great people like President Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, all the number of other individuals that really are great at motivating our base, talking about the need for empathetic leadership, the values of our party, which are representative of higher wages, workplace protections, environmental safety. We also want to make it clear that we support law enforcement But at the same time, we expect that justice be served to those who violate their duty when they're wearing that badge. And beyond that, making sure that we have a representative democracy that is by and for the people. And that is something that I believe the Democratic Party represents in spades. And all the people you're going to hear from today coincide with that message and walk the walk and talk the talk. And that is something we're in desperate need of, not only here in Jefferson County, but in the state of Texas and our country. And so without further ado, I look forward to hearing from all of our great candidates. Well, and you know, I was also derelict in not pointing out a few important dates. So I want to make sure that I get that out there. One thing that everyone needs to be made aware of is that straight ticket voting is no longer an option. So don't stop at the top of the ballot with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. You have to go all the way down to make sure that you check off people like MJ Hager, who is running for U.S. Senate against John Cornyn, as well as State Representative Joe DeShotel, and Adrienne Bell, who is running for Congress, ZENA Stevens, our sheriff, who is running for her second term, people like Jay STITTLEBURG, who is representing Senate District 4 on the Democratic ticket, and Constable JEVONNE Pollard, who is also running for re-election, and so many other great people that have really shown themselves to be reliable leaders of the people, a voice for us. Our voter registration deadline is October 5th. So for those of you that are not registered to vote or who have moved since the last election, be sure you fill out a voter registration card, either as a new voter or as a change of address. We also have deadlines to vote by mail. In order for you to submit your vote by mail application to be received by the county clerk's office here in Jefferson County, who happens to be Carolyn Guidry, will be October 23rd. Early voting has been extended to an additional week by Governor Abbott in light of COVID-19. And while Republicans at the State House and the State Senate continue to push to go back to 2 weeks, we all know that it's incredibly important that during these perilous times, we offer utmost safety and protection. And that means expanding our access to voting and timetables for voting so we don't have long lines and people in close proximity to each other. Early voting begins October 13th and ends October 30th, 3 full weeks. So we have got to make sure that we encourage our friends, our family, and all the people that live in Jefferson County to get out and vote early. And of course, Election Day is November 3rd. Our polling locations have not been released as of yet because Commissioner's Court has to vote to approve. But once those are released, we'll be sure to promote that in our email list as well as social media, and I'm sure our candidates will do the same. I was also getting some phone calls from people that have homeowners associations expressing their frustration that they're not able to put out a yard sign or advocate for their candidate of their choice. And I wanted to make it clear that per Texas Property Code Title 11, Chapter 202.009 specifies that at least one sign per candidate, and also the displays of political signs of any size up to 4x6 can be placed outside of your yard at least 90 days before and up to 10 days after the election. And so you want to make sure that you provide that information to the president of your homeowners association, because we want to make sure that all people have the opportunity to exercise their First Amendment right, especially at their home. All in all, as I said before, and I will continue to repeat it again, these are unusual circumstances that we find ourselves in, but we can't allow that to deter us from exercising our constitutional right to vote and to make sure that all the people that you hear from are elected or re-elected, and to see Donald Trump out of the White House and back on reality television. So I wouldn't want to take up too much more time. I give it away to all of our great candidates.
Oh man, that was excellent, excellent, excellent. And make sure now also let them know that the headquarters is open and what time and what days.
Absolutely. So as of right now, we do operate off of volunteers. So our schedule is Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Democratic headquarters located at 2211 Calder here in Beaumont. You can't miss it. In big letters on the front of the building, it says Jefferson County Democratic Party. So if you are someone that needs to register to vote, if you need to change your address, if you need to request a vote by mail application, you can contact the Democratic Party headquarters at 409-212-3366. Again, that number is 409-212-3366. And we will make sure that a member of our staff will get back to you in a timely manner and answer any election-related information or questions you may have.
And also, we need funded as well, too.
Absolutely. We know that the most valuable asset an individual can provide is their vote. A close second is their financial support. Your financial support goes a long way in ensuring that our candidates are able to expand upon their messaging through various means of promotional activities, whether that be social media, television advertising, as well as phone banks and block walks. And we also need to make sure that we encourage people to volunteer in the best of their ability, in their capacity, whether it's at the headquarters, whether it's making phone calls, or if time and circumstances allow block walking. We'll see what goes on with that in the coming weeks. But all in all, we just want to make sure that any person that feels that this current administration in DC is not representative of their values, of their home, of their family, need to get out and vote, and to be sure to go down ballot to select every one of these names you see on the screen now. November 3rd is our election day, and we want to give them hell. As John Lewis used to say, we need to get into good trouble, and I think that's something that we can all do here in Jefferson County.
Thank you, Joseph Trahan. I'm going to come back with you, and we're going to step up with Jay STITTLEBURG. Dave, good evening, Jay.
Hey, good evening, Tony. How you doing?
Let Southeast Texas know who you are, sir.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate excuse me. I appreciate being here. My name is Jay STITTLEBURG. I'm sorry. It's been a long day today. My name is Jay STITTLEBURG. I'm a Iraq War veteran, a graduate of the United States Naval Academy. I currently work as a project manager in the oil and gas industry, and I am the first Democratic nominee in nearly 20 years for Senate District 4. And why am I running for Senate District 4? Because I've lived in Texas for 13 years. I moved here after I got out of the military and came into the oil and gas industry. And in that 13 years, here's what I've seen in Texas. We're at the bottom in public education. We're at the top in property tax burden. We're at the #1 in the nation in the number of rural healthcare clinics and hospitals that have closed their doors. We're #1 in the nation with the number of uninsured Texans we have. And we have flooding event after flooding event in the state of Texas, and we have no robust flood mitigation policies or plans to speak of. And so that's why I'm running to represent Senate District 4, because we need to make sure that the state is funding public education at the appropriate levels. And when they start doing that, and we start closing loopholes in our property tax laws, then we can actually make sure that the state is providing their fair share and taking the burden off of everyday hardworking Texas homeowners. Because if you look at your property tax bill, the biggest portion of your property tax bills is going to go to your local independent school districts. I know for me, it's about 60% of my property tax bill. And so relieving and reducing the amount that the local taxing authorities have to charge by the state paying their fair share is going to make an impact on our pocketbooks. And we need to have elected officials in Austin that are going to have the moral and political courage to actually put these types of legislation on the floor and work with our companions, our colleagues, not only on our own side of the aisle, but across the aisle to get these legislations passed. It's far past time that the state of Texas should expand Medicaid. There's only 13 states left in the union that haven't expanded Medicaid, and it's quite a shame that we haven't. And you heard me earlier, we're #1 in the country in the number of uninsured Texans, over 4.5 million Texans uninsured. And what is Medicaid expansion going to do? There's a track record across this country of what expansion of Medicaid has done in states, including red states. Many have expanded Medicaid, and what they've seen in the savings and the increased revenue that expanding Medicaid brings in, that it far outweighs the costs. Because if we look at, it's going to cost about $5.6 billion to expand Medicaid in the state of Texas, and the return on investment in federal dollars is over $65 billion. That's going to help ensure over 1.6 million low income and children under the Medicaid program, and it's going to help our rural healthcare clinics and hospitals keep their doors open. And lastly, I talked about flood mitigation plans and policy. And the truth is, #1, we have a lot of flood mitigation plans and policies already in the law when it comes to developers who develop pieces of property. But my question is, when they submit these water studies that they do about what's going to happen to the water when they take all the trees out and put concrete in its place, how is that water going to be handled? What are the requirements that developer has to do? When we're looking at the roads and the ditches that go under roads and the swales, who cleans those? Whose responsibility is it to clean them? Whose responsibility is it to keep debris out of those so they can actually allow water to flow? And we have to remember that, when we deforest, I'll use the word deforest, when we clear a whole bunch of trees out, we have to understand that a single tree can gobble up thousands of gallons of water. So if that tree is gone, what's going to happen to that 1,000 gallons of water that tree is no longer taking? And we see these terms of, we try to beat the peak when they submit these applications for their permits. And we need to make sure we have the right eyes looking at it. And we need to make sure that we're holding developers accountable. Now, they're not the 100% problem, but that's where we have to start when it comes to flood mitigation. And we have to understand that the water has to go somewhere when we develop a piece of property, and we have to make sure that it's going in the right place and not the wrong place, much like my community, where all the surrounding development puts all the water into our community, and we flood now when we never did when I first moved here. So,
well, Jay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to
ask you, because we have a flooding problem here. We have a flooding problem. What would you do once you're in office to help us, especially with our flooding here in this Southeast Texas, especially Beaumont?
Yeah, well, I think that, honestly, I think the first thing, like I was talking about, we have to do is we have to make sure we have enforcement of existing rules, regulations, and laws that we have in place, because I know at least where I live, they don't do that. The Good Old Boy Network is hard at work in the state of Texas, and it has been for a long time. So when we see, politicians, do we really think that on the other side of the aisle, certainly my opponent who works for a developer, do we really think that they're going to go out there and try to actually put legislation that's going to hold developers accountable for what's going on, instead of seeing a huge paycheck into their campaign account? So I think that's where we need to start, because when we look at how developers are developing, which I still think is one of the biggest problems we have to make sure that we're holding them accountable, and that's got to be the first place we start. I don't think there's there is no one right answer for really any of these issues that I've been talking about, but we have to start somewhere, and we have to start moving. We have to start moving in the right direction, and moving in no direction is not helping any of us in Texas right now.
Great, thank you, Jay. Jay Stittleburg for Senate District 4. This is our candidate, people. Make sure that when you get to the ballot, this is who we're going to pull for. That's going to help us in our area, that we need the help as much as we can. Oh, Smoking Joe, my good friend Joe's DESHOTEL. Look what I have on, Joe. Your mic is muted. Your mic is muted.
You're on mute, Representative.
Yeah, Joe, your mic is muted. He don't know. Joe old school now. Joe, your mic is muted.
Oh, my mic's okay.
Yeah, now there we go. Okay, so you don't have a engineer at your house like we do.
No, I don't. Normally I noticed that, but I was looking at your shirt and wasn't looking at the instruments down here.
Yeah, see there, I'm pulling for you, son. I'm pulling for you all the way. Joe, tell us a little bit. What's just the stats on COVID-19 here in the area, or what's in this district?
Well, I mean, they're too high, and testing isn't. Pretty much, we're going through what's gone across the state. They reduced testing in Texas, unfortunately. And it's all at the direction, of course, of the president wanting to reduce testing, because that reduces the numbers in his mind of people who, at least those that are reported. We met with the governor last week, and we're looking at getting a greater allocation of the rapid test to our area. But, of course, we've been told that since the beginning, that there were some logistical issues in this. So I don't really anticipate much change. I know Sherry Ulmer is working very hard in Beaumont, and Judy is working very hard in Port Arthur to do what they can. But we're just not getting the support we need from the federal government down through the state for the testing. Now, some of the private testing are doing fine. Those who can afford to pay for a test, tests are certainly available. but those who can't afford to pay for a test they're just not getting the test that they need. And the tests that they're giving for free in many places are those that take several days in order to get a result back. And by that time, it's really too late to have any value as far as what you need to do to keep from spreading the disease. By that time, you're not contagious anymore by the time you find out that you had the disease, which is very unfortunate.
Well, I know we've got some problems, but we need to, and you and I have been talking about this for the last 6 months, and it seems like it's not getting any better. But,
not at all.
Not at all. And so we're just winging it out. Look like. How did tell the audience and how important it is to register first, make sure they're registered, and to vote, and not only just to vote, but how important it is to vote local.
It's critical. You always hear this is the most important election in your lifetime, but I think this probably could be because our democracy is in crisis at this time. I mean, we're seeing the president break all types of rules, issuing executive orders, operating as if he's the only person that has a right to make a decision. He's allocating money. He's holding up money. I mean, just what a king or dictator would do. And if he had 4 more years, then he's totally unrestrained. Right now, he at least can comprehend, I think, that he's facing an election and he's got to do some things to get reelected. Once he doesn't have to get reelected again, it's no telling how he's going to act. And all of the things that he does appear to be geared to benefit him and his family and his businesses. So how will he interact with China or interact with Russia is going to be based upon how they're treating him and his hotels and what he can do in those countries to benefit personally. And it's something I thought I'd never see in the country divided the way it is, and how people who I thought I went to school with, I thought were really, intelligent, open-minded people following him in a cult-like fashion. It's just unbelievable. They don't see him doing anything wrong. He's the best president that we ever had. I just can't comprehend how that is happening.
Well, Joe, you and I, we talk a lot. We talk all the time, and you have done a wonderful job for being the representative, our Texas representative, and we want to keep you in office, and we're going to keep you in office. We're going to vote, and we're going to vote like our life depends on it. And it just gets to me to the point that we all have a lot going on, and it's more important for us to put our people in place. And it's important in the local election that it starts down here and it goes all the way up. And this is what we have to do to change that.
Every vote counts.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying every vote counts. Please don't think, well, my vote isn't going to make a difference. I mean, we've expanded the voting period to try to cut down the COVID lines. I would say as soon as the polls open, try to go and vote. Or vote if you're going to vote by mail, which you certainly have a right to do. Mail your ballot back as soon as you get it. Don't hold it for 2 weeks and then decide to mail it. Mail it the day you get it, fill it out, get it to the post office so they can get into the county clerk, because if it's not received the day after election day, it's not going to be counted. So, or you can bring it down there. You can personally bring it down to the county clerk's office if you don't trust the mail system. You can walk in there and hand it to them. But please vote either in person or vote by mail.
And if they're voting by mail, make sure the envelope is sealed.
Oh yes, just follow the directions. They're very clear on how you do it. If you have a question, you can call the county clerk's office on how, whether you have to sign it, what you have to do. They will explain that to you, and they legally can explain it to you.
Remember, people, there's no straight ticket this voting year, and make sure you vote for our candidate Jay Stittleburg and State Representative Joe DESHOTEL, ZENA Stevenson, Adrian Bell, and JEVONNE Pollard.
One
I've had to go back. What is that?
One thing that's important that they did leave on the ballot, we don't have the straight ticket, but they will have party affiliation on the ballot. So they will say Democrat or Republican, DEM or Republican. So you'll know who the Democratic candidates are. That's the closest you can get to, if you wanted to vote straight ticket, is to go down to each category. But please, it's very important to go throughout the ballot and vote all the what was called down ballot era, not just the presidential ballot, but all the other ballots, because it's important who you elect in the House and the Senate, because they have to work together in order to counter some of the problems that we're facing just here in Texas. We have some serious issues in leadership.
Thank you, Joe. Jefferson County Sheriff ZENA Stevens. ZENA. I feel like I always say, like, you make me feel like I'm a brother of yours. You're my little sister. I don't know why. I tell your husband there, I say hello. I don't know why.
Like I said, we're just getting back in the house.
Yes.
Milda. And so, I heard Jay talk about hurricane issues, in his neck of the woods. Certainly, I've been in meetings all day. It's been a long day because we're bracing for not one, but possibly two, and so the governor has already issued for 23 counties emergency disaster orders. Our county judge has already issued a emergency disaster order for Jefferson County. I expect within the next, few hours, probably tomorrow or the following day, we will have first involuntary or voluntary evacuations followed by mandatory, but we're trying to move our assets from a law enforcement perspective. And so when people think about a sheriff's department, they generally just think about police officers riding around in police cars, rather than the preparation that goes in for rescue. And I hope with every breath in my body that we don't have to perform rescues in water, but we are preparing those things. So that's why I'm late getting here, and my engineer husband setting up my lights and stuff. It's been a little late, but we're trying to prepare and get our community and our officers prepared to do rescue and to get people out of water and just do what we do, protect our community. And so that's important. But more important than that is voting on this slate of Democrats that are here so we can work on getting, infrastructure issues fixed so we don't have to do this every year or every 2 years. For me, this would be the third time, the third time we flooded, and before, when we bought our property, it never flooded before. And so certainly, there are issues that need to be addressed. And so I am so hopeful that folks go out, and vote for this slate of professionals who are educating themselves and researching to help keep our community safe, not just in a correctional facility, not just on the street, but, even in our homes in times like these.
Yeah, I know, ZENA, that I was talking to your husband about 3 weeks ago, and he was telling me 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, I can't think, and he's saying he was just moving in that day. So I never knew that you all was out of your home, and I know how frustrating that has been. And it's almost been a year, haven't it?
Yes, it's been almost a year. But we've had some other things happen. We've had a pandemic,
yes,
that I've been dealing with, and I have, I'm responsible for almost 800 inmates, and so in addition to all of my employees, and so because of as Representative DESHOTEL spoke a few minutes ago about not getting test results, it was taking us almost 10 days to get employee test results or inmate test results back. Too long. And so we did really well at our correctional facility up until about June, where we had no cases. And right after June, Memorial Day, and the holidays started to roll in, people still get arrested and come to jail. And so the spread, occurred at our facility, and then our employees got sick. I buried this weekend one of my corrections officers, a 58-year-old healthy individual who contracted it COVID-19, most probably at work, and died. Spent probably 3 to 4 weeks in the hospital here in Beaumont, and died. And we buried him this weekend. And so it's been a tough year, but that's what we do. We're crisis managers. And so I think it's important to have people in these positions across the ticket who care, who are professionals, and who are trying to figure out, how to take care of people's families. Those things matter. So it's not just about, policies and budgets. All those are important, and we do a great job at those things. But it's also showing compassion to the community and getting out there and doing what you can to fix some of the problems that you recognize.
Yeah, I know you have. That's been a big problem for you as well. You're dealing with the COVID-19 and your inmates, and also you are. Now we're dealing with 2 hurricanes, so I can imagine what you're going through. And I want to thank you so much, because I wasn't going to feel good if you wasn't going to be here today. I'm telling you, my nerves was bad.
Well, we rushed home. Like I said, we had a hurricane. We rushed home, and we're here. And so,
yeah.
We're going to do what we can to encourage folks to get out and vote. And I think it's so important to vote. Don't stop with the person's name that in that ballot, because the slate of candidates are important. They network with each other, to actually get the job done. If you have the one person that you like on a ticket, and that's the only person that you vote for, he or she doesn't have the ability to make change alone. And so it takes a whole village of like-minded people. And so that's why it's so important to remind people of that. Go down that slate. And I agree with what Joe said in terms of the ballot is going to show party affiliation. Recognize those candidates that serve you and serve your community, and punch their names, vote for them.
Hey, Zena.
It is life or death. I hear people saying, it's not that important. This election is so important. It's the most important election of my 55 years. It's important.
It is very much important. Very much. We must vote like we never voted before. Like our lives depends on it. And I've been saying that for the last 6 months since we've been doing this podcast. And we started with just a few people. Now we're up to 8,000 people watching us. And I want them to know we've got to vote, people. We've got to vote like we never voted before. We need you to register to vote. We've got qualified candidates here that has done a good job. So I want you to reelect my sister.
And let me say something real quick, Tony. Everybody says that Democrats aren't fiscally responsible. I bet everybody, sitting here. And so if you have a Republican friend, tell them that, I have a $42 million budget. We cut our overtime by $1.5 million since I've become sheriff. Every slate of candidates, I bet, can brag about fiscal responsibility. And so don't let them label our party or our candidates as people who are not concerned with that. We're probably more fiscally responsible than most because we're usually on the lower end of the spectrum of income earners. And so we know how to budget. My grandparents, whether it was red beans and rice for 5 days or my daughter still loves, Spam sandwiches, and she doesn't have to eat them. She likes them. And so don't let people label us with that crap. And I'm going to say crap because it's crap. We are professionals and we're fiscally responsible and we know how to run offices and save taxpayers money.
You're absolutely correct. And very, very, we are on top of everything that we need to be doing. And thank you, Zena. You have Stevens. I'm sorry. You have done a wonderful job in the times you have been there. And we will be supporting you all the way to November for the next election, 2020. I'm just so proud of you and all the things you have done for the sheriff department and the community, because you've been in the public, you've been there when everyone needed you. You've been there, and I thank you so much for the job that you're doing. Thank you. Your staff is, and I know what you've gone through with all the issues that we're having right now. So I'm going to ask Constable JEVONNE Pollard, who's is running for a re-election as well. You probably want to kind of piggyback off of the sheriff, because you are pretty much in the same area there, right?
Right. So I'm, in precinct 1, which is about 2/3 of Beaumont. We're dealing with similar scenarios, and people, like the sheriff said, it's not a Monday through Friday 8 to 5 job as an elected official. Representative DESHOTEL has been on the phone all day. Sheriff, Stevens has been on the phone all day. I've been talking to emergency management, precinct 1 barn. We're working on behalf of our constituents on the weekends. We'll be working all night. Our phones will be ringing. And that's what we signed up for. And so you want to keep people in position that are willing to, understand that it's not a Monday through Friday type of situation. It's a calling. And what we're doing is rising to that moment. And so, like the sheriff, we're in meetings, we're coordinating our people, we're coordinating our staff. We'll have to meet with our JPs and see how they're going to do things within precinct 1 as far as court and those type of situations. Dealing with Judge Brannick and his emergency order, we all get labeled essential personnel. So we'll be dealing with that and having our assignments. For us, we'll be for sure checking on people in precinct 1, but we'll also be checking on, who our neighbors are. We'll be checking on precinct 4 and precinct 6, going where the need is, helping out, wherever the situation may call for us to be there. So like the sheriff, like Representatives, DESHOTEL, been working since the storms started becoming more of a threat, been on the phone, making plans and changing plans. Because before the storm, we had, things that we were going to do this week and work on and priorities, but, situations as they may, we, it calls for those times for us to change the plans and adapt and just move on.
Well, Yvonne, Constable Pollard, kind of tell us what you're up for re-election and your campaign. What you're focusing on? Let's get on your campaign. What are you focusing on, and what do you want? I know you've been very innovative so far. So what are you going with the stand?
Well, I'm up for my second term. I've enjoyed this first 2 years, and it feels a little disingenuous to talk about my re-election campaign, facing what we're facing. But at the same time, I know that it's kind of what's going on too, so it's twofold. But I'm just wanting to continue what I've started. I've started looking at ways to be more innovative out of the constable's office. I've been working on ways to change the narrative about what people understand the constables to be. The reputation that we've had in the past, I'm looking to continue to change that and improve that. Just continuing to forge relationships, whether it's as the broader spectrum of countywide law enforcement and the constable's role in law enforcement, and how we partner and work with the sheriff's department, with the local PDs, with the DA investigators, with ATF, with game wardens, with DPS, how we all work together, as county law enforcement. Being innovative with my RITS unit that I've started, and we're on a pace right now to collect almost about $350,000 for our constituents that bring their writs of execution before us with just our specialized unit. And so, I'm just looking for ways to better serve, continuing to be vocal, continuing to have accessibility between my office and my constituents, expanding on the platforms that I use, Nextdoor, Twitter, and Facebook and Instagram, expanding on those and just continuing to do what the people elected me to do. I feel honored to be in this position. I don't take that lightly. Every day I get dressed and put on my uniform, I understand that I work for the people of Precinct 1. And so I go out there every day, and my staff goes out there every day, and we put our best, foot forward and do our absolute best to make sure we're representing them well.
Now, what makes you so driven? I watch you all the time. You like Sheriff Stevens. She's a hard driver. She don't know I'd be watching, but she's been a hard driver. What make you so driven as well?
Well, I mean, you can't not be driven when you have leaders like Sheriff Stevens and Representative DESHOTEL and Carolyn Guidries and Commissioner Alfred and these type of people. You can't be elected and come in here and just sit on your behind with these kind of people that are already in place. So they've set the bar pretty high. So, you know, young coming in, or, you know, rookie, whatever you want to call it, you have to step up. And so that's been a lot of it. And then, you know, my parents were very good at raising us to, you know, to be servants in the community and to have a servant over self type of attitude and to leave a legacy of service. And so coming into office, I wanted to do that. And I wanted to just make sure that, you know, whenever my time is up, you know, in office, people will be able to say that I worked hard, and I left a legacy of service.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. That was a great presentation. And again, thank you all for being with me this evening here on Knowledge is Power, because we share a very important information to our, I want to use this platform for educating our community and making sure that they know the things that we know they need to know. And this is going to be our platform. And then whenever you want to use this platform, you guys are welcome. And I am here for 24 hours a day, every day, doing this, what I do. Hey, now, Adrian Bell, tell us all about your campaign.
Hey, Adrian.
Hey, Adrian.
Hey there. Good evening. You know, as I was listening to everyone speak, all I hear from each of you are servants, servant leaders. And I've been thinking, since we've been looking at the weather forecast and how this storm is changing, and my heart just goes toward Beaumont and Port Arthur. And I am so glad ZENA Stevens is in charge. I remember watching these in 2018 and the boat crew and the great things that y'all did. And when you at least know that there is something going on, but you have someone that you can put your confidence in, you feel better about that storm coming there. And we don't want it to happen. But I tell you what, one of the reasons that I am running for Congress is to represent you, to represent the people. There is no way we should be having a storm coming toward us and you don't have easy access to your federal representative. That's what I want to be for you. It's someone that you can call on, someone you can talk to. Federal response will not be slow like it was in 2018. Where in 2019 and 2020, you're still trying to get in your homes from Hurricane Harvey. That should not be so. When we have COVID going on, and when you talk about testing, my opponent did not push in any of the counties COVID testing or testing and tracing. You were on your own, and you continue to be on your own because there is no federal leadership coming out from my opponent to help you to get COVID testing or getting COVID results or to have free testing. And we've got to change that. We've got people being evicted and put out on the streets. When we did a recent polling in Beaumont and Port Arthur area and some of the other areas as well, the main concern is education, transparency, because you know he doesn't have any town halls, so you don't get to talk to him and find out what's really going on or to get your views across. Also healthcare, and with the pandemic going on, there's a huge concern in Port Arthur area because so many people are there, and they're concerned about being evicted. And being concerned about losing your home, how can you lose your home and still send your kids to school, whether it's virtually or whether it's in person? And we got so many issues going on right now, so many issues that we really need to deal with. But you need representatives that care about the people. And I am this year I'm going to be a second grade school teacher, and I'm a public school teacher. I care about you. I care about your kids. When my opponent voted against the HEROES Act, he voted against you getting extra money in your pockets. He voted against working people. And I would have voted for that emergency money because I know you need it. And so we need change. And I encourage everyone to vote. Jefferson County is the only pivot county in Texas, which means that Jefferson County voted for Obama 2008, 2012, but in 2016, Trump won by less than 500 votes. So there is some pressure on Jefferson County because we expect you to be the one that comes out wholeheartedly for Democrats and cause not only all of us on the screen to win, but also for Biden to win Texas. And a lot is riding in Jefferson County, and we are looking for victory. We're looking for representatives who going to actually care about the people and actually talk to people. And that's who I am. That's why I want to serve you, because I want to join this great team we have right here that really cares about the people. And right now, you don't have that. And we just be honest about it. You do not have that. And the only way we're going to save ourselves is we save ourselves and we go out to vote, because these Republicans are literally killing us. And we cannot continue in this vein. So that's me. I'm Adrienne Bell, and I look forward to serving you in Washington,
Adrienne,
D.C.
please repeat again what you're running for.
I am
Adrienne?
running for U.S. Congress. On the ballot, it actually says U.S. House of Representatives, but I am running to represent you in Washington, D.C.
That's great. That's great. I think that is awesome. Hey, Zena, if I can come back to you, Sheriff, I've had a note to come back to you on something, and if you don't mind, and kind of explain it to us, that President Trump says that law enforcement, sheriffs and all, would be sent to polling places in November. Are you making plans, or have you received directives towards that yet?
No. First of all, I don't think legally that can happen. President Trump, a lot of people don't listen to. So no. We do assist. We generally help, when it's time to count the ballots. I'll have people posted, as most communities do that, to make sure that they're or not outside interference. But no, the president is about spreading fear,
false
and false accusations, and no, we're not preparing for that right now. I'm worried about the pandemic, and he needs to be worried about that as well. Yes. I'm also worried about 2 hurricanes headed for our community.
Right. Hey, listen, we've got a little bit more time. This is for all of you all. The Democrats just had a fantastic convention, and it was fantastic. I love it and inspiring, and it was showing about unite everyone, diverse, and it was full of talent, along with the top Democratic leaders in the country. So, do you think it helped the local ticket people like yourselves? Now, this is for everyone. Joe? Oh, that's right. I have 2 Josephs.
Well, if I'm on the ballot, yes, I think we got excitement. It built excitement within the party, and that excitement does help everyone from the top of the ballot on down the ballot. And the key is to keep that excitement over the next 65, 70 days, and to generate more excitement as we go. But yes, an excited party does benefit down ballot.
What do you think about that, Jay? Did you feel like that was a great convention that the Democrat put on last week, and it will help us? Enthusiastic.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the convention last week. And actually, I actually enjoyed the fact that it was virtual. I mean, not only was it responsible, but I think it actually flowed a little bit better. Yeah, politicians, we like to get in front of people and hear clapping and cheering, but the reality is it got the message across. They didn't get interrupted 400 times in giving their message, and I think it came across loud and clear. And I think we're gonna see a very different convention next week. If 2016 is any indication of what next week's gonna be like for that convention. But yes, and all these things, the excitement in a party, the excitement with people on the ticket, will always help down ballot races. And again, just like everybody else has said, it's so important to go all the way down the ballot. I understand it might take some time to do some research, especially maybe on those items on the ballot where there is no RD. It's a non-partisan race that there is no RD. So you have to do some research. If you have a school district or a mud district, or you name one of those types of races, you don't know who's who. You have to do a little bit of research. And it's so important, because the more local these races get, the more important they are to your pocketbook, the more immediate effect they can have on your pocketbook, and they can certainly have an immediate effect on your day-to-day life. unlike national politics. It takes a lot longer for national politics to affect you as it does local politics.
ZENA?
Oh yeah, I'm excited. First of all, as a woman, you know, we have our first woman of color in Kamala Harris, and she's a Link sister of mine, and so I am very, very excited to have her on that ticket. And so, but I also understand, you know, watching that, it made me also appreciate and understand the responsibility that we all have. We got to go out and work and educate people about those candidates, about us as individuals, and somehow inspire people in spite of a pandemic, in spite of all the things that we have going on. We've got to get people out to the polls. You know, most people have already decided who they're voting for. And so the important group of people is that percentage that hasn't. And so we've got to go out there and touch them. And I know we're not supposed to be touching people. You know, we're all social distancing. I am, you know, but somehow, whether it's, and I understand it can't be physical, but we've got to touch their hearts and make it important enough for them to go to the polls. And so it has to become personal. We have to make sure that they understand by not voting and not voting for us, how it affects their lives.
Absolutely. Joseph Trahan, the chairperson. What kind of efforts are we doing to keep the push going on to the voting polls?
One of the most important aspects that I think we can do as Democrats in reaching our voters is making it clear through various means of communication, whether it be through phone banks, social media, or email, the fact that we are present, we are active, and we are working towards re-electing a number of the people you've heard from tonight, as well as those who are seeking election against incumbents that do not reflect our values here in Jefferson County and beyond. For us in this election, it is unlike anything we've ever experienced. I know because I've been around for so long, you know, but I think in all of our lives, based on what I'm told from people like Representative DESHOTEL and others, that this is something that we could not have foreseen. You know, March 3rd was election day for the primaries, and within a week, things hit the fan. And so all of those plans for traditional means of engaging with voters, events, fundraisers, block walking was brought to a screeching halt. And so consequently, we are all having to, as candidates and party leaders, work in overtime in trying to figure out ways in which we can reach our people. And so that means, and I don't want to go into too much detail because we have our own strategies, and I know Judy's watching tonight, so I want to make sure I'm cautious. But I will say that it is important that we reach through all means of communication to uplift our people and engage with them. And let me tell you something. What is really effective at the local level are a lot of our seniors, men and women, who get on that phone, who respond to emails and let people know who they're voting for. They're the ones that are really a guidepost for so many people throughout our community, whether they be in Montrose or El Vista, or, you know, Lakeside and Port Arthur, or whether it be the North End, South Park, Pear Orchard, West End, you name it here in Beaumont. It's always been like that. And for us, again, one of the most effective ways we've seen in reaching voters is through social media. The majority of the traffic that we've seen come through the headquarters requesting signs, wanting to get registered to vote, they knew about it because of the fact that we are posting continuously and engaging with people. For us, I think a big motivating factor in getting people out to vote is Donald Trump, good, bad, or indifferent. We are that pivot county. In fact, I have an interview tomorrow with somebody from DC that's coming out and wanting to do an interview on this pivot county and really what happened in 2016, where we elected Donald Trump the same year that Sheriff ZENA Stevens was on the ballot. And to me, that's quite ironic because they both represent polar opposite viewpoints. And I think one has integrity and the other doesn't. And you can guess who. And for me, it comes down to getting out to vote. What I remind people who say that their vote doesn't count is that it does. Donald Trump won Jefferson County by 424 votes. When you look nationwide, and Michelle Obama said this so eloquently at the Democratic National Convention, he won by approximately 70-some-odd thousand votes in 3 swing states. And if you look at one of those swing states and you divide it, he won by 2 votes per precinct in that state. And so what that shows us is that when we actually do perform, and we do, and in fact, not just perform, overperform and see 70, 80, 90% voter turnout in precincts, we win. We always have and we always will. And another part of that is the fact that so many of our great candidates here locally represents something that is missed, and that is community-centered leadership. You know, so often Republicans want to paint us as anti-gun and anti-capitalist and anti-this and anti-that, when really they have no other argument to make other than, oh, they're anti, you put the blank in. They don't have much substance. Whereas when we talk about the importance of responsibility and accountability in government, they automatically feign that we're trying to turn this country into Venezuela, and that's not true. You know, for us, it's always having to make sure that we don't allow ourselves to be pigeonholed into what these perceptions are that Republicans want us to be painted as. We are pro law enforcement, but we're also pro accountability to make sure that people that are wearing the badge are held to a higher standard and aren't violating the law. We are fiscally responsible. People like Adrian Bell believe in investing in the community and not simply just throwing money at it like they try to act like we're doing. People like Jay Stittleburg know that we're going to have to spend money to address flood mitigation and to improve our environmental protections. So on. I mean, there's so much I could go on to talk about how crucial it is to have these people that you see on the screen elected or reelected. Ultimately, we are the party of compassion and empathy. I don't have to know what you're going through to respect you and advocate for you. And that's exactly another thing that was talked about in our national convention, is that we try to walk in people's shoes and create policy and leadership that reflects most of us, not just some of us. And that is ultimately the message of the Democratic Party here locally and nationally. And we can win, but we can't do it without all of you who are watching at home and those of you who are just sick of this gridlock, because there are people, many people through our phone banks we've been communicating with that say, you know, I voted for Donald Trump in 2016, and many of them are women, but I can't see myself doing it this go around. I'm disappointed. He does not reflect the Republican values that I grew up knowing. And so we're also going to have people that are not a part of our party that are going to support our local and national candidates because they see those values, irrespective of party lines, reflected in them. And so that's something that I'm really excited about. We're doing well. We're continuing to push for support. And COVID or not, we're going to make sure that we get out the vote. And I'm just so very happy that we have so many people like Sheriff ZENA Stevens, State Rep Joe DeShotel, Adrian Bell, Constable Pollard, and Jay Stittleburg representing us tonight, because I'm voting for all of them. I don't know if that comes as a shock. And so I hope that everyone else will do the same, because I'm ready. And I think we all are, to get November over with so we can get back to business and try and make sure that we have people in office that don't have issues like this pandemic just over our heads in the inefficient and poorly organized manner that it has been.
And it has been poorly organized, and we're not, well, I'm not going to go there. Hey guys, let me tell you this. I'm supporting you all as well, but I want the audience, the viewership, to know that it takes money also. These candidates are some of the best candidates we've had in a long time. With some of those are being running for re-election. We have to support their campaign. I like you all, if you can, before we leave, let them know how they can donate to your campaign. Because it takes money to run, I know. So, and before we leave the show tonight, guys, I'd like you to stay with me for about 2 minutes backstage. I have some information I want to share. But as we close out this evening, I'd like to say that we had one other guest, that a candidate that wasn't able to connect with us. She had problems connecting. I want to come to, I think I can ad-lib a little bit, which she left me here, that she's running for Jefferson County Commissioner, Precinct 1, as Marinette Parkinson. And she's a write-in. She's letting you know early voting is October the 13th through the 30th, and election day, November the 3rd. You can make your donation to our campaign using PayPal or write-in Mara, M-A-R-I, to donate to her campaign. But we all need to understand that we've got a campaign. Everybody's here is running, and they're running because they love what they're doing. They want to do something to support. They need our support as well. So, guys, before we close out, Adrian, you have any, give us information on where they can donate to your campaign as well?
Yes, I want to say that this is our time. It is our moment. and it is time for us to be up front at the table. You can donate to my campaign at voteforbell.com. That's VOTEFORBELL.com. Thanks.
All right, Chef Stevens.
They can always send checks to ZENA for Sheriff. I don't have the address in front of me right now because I wasn't running and not prepared, but I'll get it for you. We also have a website that will go live probably on Monday or Tuesday of next week, and they can go to credit card or PayPal, and it will be vote for ZENA Stevens for Sheriff.
Yes, and we will vote for ZENA Stevens for sheriff. Smoking Joe Russell-Ted. Did you know you and Joe and I? Well, but I'm going to even go there. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, well, they can. You can go online and Act Blue. Just Google Act Blue and put my name in, and you'll be able to make a donation via with PayPal or a credit card.
Jay, you've got any information to share with the audience on how we can donate to your? They can donate to your campaign.
Yeah, you can go to my website. It's jstittleburg.com. There's a link to my Act Blue account, or you can go just to Act Blue and search for my name, Jay Stittleburg for Texas. I'm also holding a virtual fundraiser next Sunday on August 30th, and my special guest for that is going to be a fellow veteran, Colonel Kim Olson, retired, who ran for the Texas Commissioner of Agriculture in 2018, and she ran for Texas 24 this year. Unfortunately, she lost the primary, but she's a dear friend and real trailblazer as far as women pilots in the Air Force. And again, I want to just encourage everybody to prep for the hurricane. Do it now. Don't wait till tomorrow. And vote, vote, vote.
Constable Pollard.
Yeah, I'm like everybody else. I wasn't my campaign is not starting until September the 1st. So I'll be having more information as far as financially, but support is always great, whether they're sharing a post or whether they're encouraging their friend to vote or they're putting their sign up in their yard. So support comes in many forms, but the financial kind is always appreciated, and I'll have some stuff forthcoming as far as the financial.
Absolutely correct. And it takes money to run a campaign, people. If you're out there, you're watching, you're listening, let's support our candidates. We need that support. And Joe, I know you're still running your camp membership fund, so that's your little slogan on the screen there.
Yes, and we've actually, and we're continuing, I know that's a bit older, we've definitely hit our goal, but we're continuing to want to raise to increase that goal. One thing that I want to tell people that are watching is that irrespective of financial support, your time is just as valuable. And so, you know, we are a party that is a big umbrella. We have billionaires, millionaires, people that are working class, union proud workers, people that may even be living in poverty. And so when we think about that spectrum, it's important that we remain inclusive of all people that are out there voting for us, that are relying on us. And so if you are able to make a contribution to the party, don't think that no amount is too little. I've received checks for $5. I've received checks for $5,000. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, it's about putting skin in the game and showing that you are ready to see this county remain blue and to push back any Republican gains that have been made here as well as nationwide. If you would like to, oh, I'm sorry, Sheriff, did you say something?
No.
Oh, so you can actually, for those of you that prefer a check, you can make it out to the Jefferson County Democratic Party, and you can mail it to 2211 Calder. That's Beaumont, Texas, 77701. And again, no amount is too small, and ultimately it benefits all of our candidates up and down the ballot. But again, don't think that if you don't have any money, that you don't have value. Your time is just as important. So you can always come out to the Democratic Party headquarters, as I said before, 2211 Calder, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 2 to 6 p.m. If you'd like to volunteer to expand those hours, you can actually contact us at 409-212-3366. Again, that number is 409-212-3366, and we will make sure that we'll get back to you with any questions you may have. But remember, Straight ticket voting is no longer an option. Don't stop at the top. Go all the way down and hit submit.
Thank you, Joseph Trahan, Democratic chairperson. Does it tell you, Joe, you wanted to add something there? I saw you want to add something before we close out. Okay, great. Listen, people, anyone else had anything you thought about you missed out? You can talk to me now. We talk to me late. Hey, but listen, guys, thank you so much for everything. And I like to let the viewership know that we're here every Sundays and Tuesday evenings at 7:30 to just to let you know this is our community platform, so we can share information to everyone in our community. With that being said, join me Tuesday as we talk about personal finance and personal insurance, home, boat, cars. We're going to have a guest that's going to share that with us. And also, I will talk about personal finances, how to build your wealth and how to manage your finances. So with that, thank you again for joining Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. And we'll see you the next time.